It's fine.
Yeah, what if everybody gets vaccinated? Then will it be okay to do face-to-face?
So the city is handling the policy since it would be in a city-owned facility. We are still operating under the previous guidelines and restrictions that we had in place, despite the new executive order. But, you know, we're going to continue to evaluate as the people continue to get vaccinated and we move forward through the next few months and see what happens. So I am very happy to announce that I have been vaccinated and excited about getting to see people again.
Me too.
Excellent.
All right, well, we've got 4:30. We want to get started.
All right, so I'd like to call to order the Sugarland 4B Corporation on Wednesday, March 17th, 2021, 4:30 p.m. Public comment. Citizens who desire to address the City Council, Board, and Commission with regard to matters on the agenda will be read and received at this time. Is there anyone that has asked to be read or received?
No, ma'am.
All right, we'll close the public comment. Minutes. Consideration of an action on the minutes of February 24th, 2021 meeting. Thomas Harris III, City Secretary, presenting. Any questions or comments about the minutes?
Move to approve.
Okay.
All right, so Director Porter, and who was the second?
I think Billy.
Okay, Billy, I didn't see him. Okay, so let's go around. Director McCutcheon.
Aye.
Director Kamali.
Aye.
Director Gasani.
Aye.
Director Atkinson.
Aye.
Director Saunders.
Aye.
Director Porter.
Aye.
And aye. So moved. The minutes unanimously carried. Next item is receive and hear all persons desiring to be heard on Sugarland 4B Corporation Resolution number 2021-03-01, a resolution of the Board of Directors of the Sugarland 4B Corporation finding the Business Support Program to be a project or activity authorized by the Development Corporation Act. Elizabeth Huff presenting.
Good afternoon. So I'm going to quickly go over some background here. As you all know, the All In for SLTX initiative stemmed from the excitement and enthusiasm by City Council during their retreat to do cool and unique things in Sugarland. The projects have been designed to begin establishing an ecosystem for innovation and creative ideas that showcase Sugarland entering a new growth phase. And our overall goal is to build a strong economic foundation for our city as we work on growing Sugarland. Next slide. So just a review of the project funding criteria that we came up with is to attract press coverage. We want it to be really unique. We've got various funding sources that we're working with, and so making sure that they fall in line with the different funding sources available. Engagement with the community. It can be temporary, interim in nature, or permanent, and serves our residents and future residents and attracts tourists, employers, and talented workforce. And then we're really looking for projects that have that kind of wow factor, that are different, outside of the box, creative. And as we all know, it was a response to the pandemic and the economic crisis caused by COVID. And so like our project categories are first and foremost finding and making sure that there's a connection to the business community, public art, and engaging people in a new and different ways. And then also looking to bring exposure to our city destinations. Next slide. So next slide. So far, Sweet Cash, I'm trying to remember if Sweet Cash came first or All In for SLTX came first, but Sweet Cash was the first project and was funded by the Sugarland 4B Corporation. For the first round, as you remember, we had a buy, get, give program, as well as a 'tis the season kind of BOGO, buy one, get one gift card. Overall, wanted to recap that there was about $206,000 that was contributed to the local economy. We were excited to have over 1,200 consumer submissions, and that about 1,700 gift cards were given to frontline workers. Next slide. So then Santa's Magisphere, with all of that came with COVID and having to remain socially distanced and have to wear masks. We were excited about this opportunity to partner with Reeves and Lionstone in Town Square and kind of give a very different, very new, very unique way to engage with Santa Claus during such a trying time and a very new time for all of us. And so this was successfully run from about November 27th through Christmas Eve. We had over 1,700 participants, and we're really excited. We did get a lot of media coverage from this activation and got a lot of really unique comments and feedback. And the company that put this together, Flight School, is continued to be excited about partnerships and other ways to engage with the city of Sugar Land. Next slide. So as you all know, and I believe a lot of you participated in our winter movie series, that was very successful, and we're really proud that we had about over 50% of the people that attended came from outside of the region. So one, gave people an opportunity to get outside, but really be safe and to do something different, and to be able to visit our destination centers as well and give that exposure. And so we are, as you know, we're launching and started last weekend our spring movie series and continue to work on a permanent feasibility of a permanent installation of movie series for the city. Next slide. So next we've brought to you guys Parklets as a pilot program. Want to really stop here and give kudos to Cam Yerdy, our Public-Private Partnership Manager, and John Soriano, Economic Development Coordinator. The Parklets are ready to go. They've been designed. We're anxiously and very actively working with all of our shopping centers. They have cold called. They have gone above and beyond in trying to secure a location for the first Parklet. We have gotten very, very close. And I just want to give kudos. While one has not been constructed and has not been implemented, they are doing a lot and are really, really trying to engage the landlords on this opportunity. But with those struggles, we have recognized the need to start looking at maybe the city right-of-ways and other properties that the city might own that would make it a lot easier, where we wouldn't have to have those performance agreements, but still give people the opportunity to sit outside and dine outside and really get to utilize a kind of a new, unique feature. So next slide. And then we also discussed pump tracks. So this was a cool project that is a little bit longer term, but it is definitely something that's a wow factor. Sugar Land has become more recognized and a tourist destination for mountain bikers. And so we kind of saw this as an opportunity. While we couldn't implement it immediately, but it definitely fits with our Sugar Land 4B Corporation approved projects and funding sources through state statute. And so we are moving forward. We're in the initial phases of kind of community engagement and design work before we go out and find someone to construct and pick a location for the pump track. Next slide. So now I'm going to go over the business support program. So we during the holidays in early January, we were given the opportunity to secure about $2 million from Fort Bend County. And their big request was to figure out ways to support our local business community that have been impacted by COVID. And so through that, the city staff created a business support program. And there were 4 main buckets of that program that we are using those dollars for. Sweet Cash is one of them. We're doing a round 2 called Sweet Cash 2021. We have done an open call for projects, which is a request for placemaking that is to help with business resiliency and also to encourage pop-up improvements and expansion of public art. And then the 4th bucket is business innovation and training and coaching. Next slide. So just real quick, Sweet Cash is anticipated to be about $1 million. We have so far received about 58 applications and are in the process of getting dollars to those businesses and reviewing those applications. And some of them include previous submittals who had gotten the $2,500 from 4B and are now eligible to receive an additional $2,500 through the Fort Bend County allotment, as well as some new businesses. So we're deep in the weeds of trying to get those processed and getting those gift cards put together and purchased so that we can start getting them out in the community. Next slide. The next was we have submitted or released a request for placemaking. We're really looking for ways to support businesses with business resiliency, and as I mentioned, Popup Improvements. So far, we have received 3 applications. Interesting enough, 2 of them, excuse me, have been focused on public art, and all those 3 projects are being evaluated. And so the reason we're bringing this to you all today is that we want to be able to take advantage of the Fort Bend County Business Support Program and those funds, but we anticipate receiving projects that may not fall under the category specifically related to being able to utilize those $2 million from Fort Bend County. And so specifically, one of the projects that we have received through the request for placemaking is a great opportunity that we want to partner with and hope to hope to be able to make it work, but it doesn't fall under the stricter definition of how we use the Fort Bend County dollars. So next slide. Some of the examples of pop-up improvements are the, as you can see now, we've got the continuation of the Sugarland movie series, new and continuing to push the Parklets programs, and then trying to work on planning for pop-up shops. Hopefully we also are looking for opportunities and submittals for food trucks and infrastructure to support food trucks throughout the community, open air seating spaces, art implementation, and other concepts. Next slide. And then business resiliency, just to kind of touch on that again, is looking to be able to support businesses, especially the restaurants and retailers that have been heavily impacted on occupancies and people just kind of being scared to go, of giving them people more comfort in having like the touchless entry or outdoor infrastructure where they can maybe move their retail goods outside so people will feel comfortable going outdoors and shopping and browsing and not being inside of a facility. And then also looking for opportunities to help existing retail establish online presence, and either through new and improved websites or just being able to kind of ramp up their processing for payments. Next slide. And then last but not least, we've got the business innovation training and coaching. We've got 4 cohorts and are working to hopefully get about 20 to 25 participants each. And this contract has been approved, and staff is actively recruiting businesses to begin the first cohort. So we're excited about that to see what comes from it. Next slide. So as I mentioned, the reason we are here today is we have gone through a lot of steps to continue the momentum from the All In for SLTX initiative, and trying to find ways to support any cool and innovative projects that come through to us, and the ability to fund them either through the Fort Bend County Business Support Program or to fund them through Sugarland 4B dollars. So today we've got the public hearing and the finding resolution that finds that these projects are eligible for Sugarland 4B Corporation dollars to be spent on them if they do not qualify for the Fort Bend County dollars. And we will be bringing funding resolutions to you all in the future for larger project activations. Next slide. So our recommendation today is for the board to hold a public hearing and approve resolution number 2021-0301, finding that All In for SLTX projects can be funded using Sugarland 4B Corporation funds. Next slide.
So I'd like to open the public hearing at this time, and I don't have the time on my computer, so I can't say what the actual time is.
4:44.
4:44. Thank you, Devin. Is there anyone here to speak on this from the public?
Do we have anyone signed up?
No, ma'am.
Thank you.
Okay, then I will close the public hearing at this time, 4:44, 4:45.
4:44 still.
Okay, so we'll close the public hearing at 4:44. Thank you. Now moving on, consideration of an action on the Sugarland 4B Corporation Resolution number 2021-03-01, a A resolution of the Board of Directors of the Sugarland 4B Corporation finding the business support program to be a project or activity authorized by the Development Corporation Act. Are there any clarifying questions for staff?
I have one, I guess, President.
Yep, Director McCutcheon?
Yeah, thank you. Now, is there any chance that public art on the Lexington Bridge over Ditch H would qualify for the placemaking that you talked about, or not, since it wouldn't provide direct support to a business?
Yeah, so it's that would not be what we're looking for from a public art perspective, is something that's going to be in our shopping centers and like kind of bring those murals that people travel around and get pictures in front of, and other activations, so that we then bring people to these shopping centers and hopefully get people in our retailers and our restaurants. But with that said, from a public art perspective, we are looking at all bridges within the community and how we can do other projects like Brook Street Bridge on other bridges throughout the community, and Ditch H is on that list. And so our new public art manager is working through that process of identifying projects from using the CIP funds that have been allocated to public art. And so we will be bringing those projects, once she's got her public art plan set, we'll be bringing those projects to the EDC and then to the 4B for approval and the public hearing, finding, and funding resolutions. So we're not there yet, but it is on the list for consideration.
Okay, great. Thank you. And then, so no chance that the Kroger Shopping Center at Sweetwater and Lexington would change their mind on the Parklet? I know the city was very close with them, and then that didn't work out.
Yeah, so we've been very close on several. I will allow Cam to step in here and correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't believe that has been finalized, but I'll let you know.
I'll provide a brief update on the Parklets. The Kroger at Sweetwater Center, that is a no-go from the property owners themselves. I never was able to get final clarification on exactly what the sort of killing concern was, but they clearly communicated that they were no longer interested in moving forward. We have had discussions with props again to John Soriano, who has been hitting the pavement hard and getting meetings set up. I think we have met with over 5 different centers for an hour-long call just to kind of introduce the project and get buy-in. And we do have some significant movement on one of the Highway 6 shopping centers that I haven't even had a chance to brief Elizabeth on yet, because the movement just came in the past hour. So we are pushing forward and do have some light coming down the tunnel. But for the Sweetwater Kroger Center, that is not going to be moving forward.
Thank you.
Any other questions from the board?
I have one.
Director Kamali?
On the resilience program for businesses to get started back up. So if they spent money back in April, May, are they able to submit those expenses, or is it something new on a go-forward basis?
I think initially we are looking for new projects, but that's a great question that we have not been approached. We have not seen as much activity or interest in the resiliency side of our open call. But that's a great question that we will go back and consider, and we'll get back to you on that if you don't mind.
Yeah, the only reason I say it is because you see sanitizing stations, and you see different things at restaurants and temperature things that they're doing that they have spent money on, and if they have not been reimbursed by the county or any other facility, then it could help them, right? Especially if the restaurants that have been really hurt during the pandemic. Thank you for that. So I have one follow-up as well. Sure. The Parklets, we have town center. I mean, why would we not just consider doing something right outside of Bar Louie, where there is a little bit of a niche? It used to be valet parking back in the day. Why would we not put something there and showcase it right in town center, and then maybe pique the interest of others?
So Cam, feel free to step in here. But Rebees is actively working on those projects right now they are aware of the opportunity and are aware of the placemaking. They have not approached us for those opportunities, and but I know that they are actively working on lots of different placemaking and parklet type projects. But
on their own, you mean? They're working on their, okay. I remember you all talking now. That's right. I remember you mentioning it once as well. Okay.
Any other questions? Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Okay, so Director McCutcheon approved and Director Kamali second. Director Saunders?
Aye.
Director Atkinson?
Aye.
Director Porter?
Aye.
Director Gasani?
Aye.
Now go again, Director McCutcheon
Aye.
and Director Kamali,
Aye.
and myself, I as well. So the motion has approved unanimously for that resolution. Let's move on to the next one. Consideration of an action on the Sugarland 4B resolution number 2021-03-04, a resolution of the Board of Directors of the Sugarland 4B Corporation approving a request by the City of Sugarland to fund a workforce and target industry analysis. Devin Rodriguez, Assistant Director of Economic Development, presenting.
Good afternoon, President Sewell, and thank you to the rest of the board as well. So I will keep this presentation short. These are slides that you all have seen previously, a condensed version of it from our joint workshop that we had with the SLDC board on March 2nd. So the action today, I'll just give a short review of what that is we did the workshop on March 2nd to kind of go more in depth in what this contract is, what we're looking to do. The consultant that we have selected, and Chris Engel with EY is with us today if we have any follow-up questions at all. But this funding resolution is the actual approval by the 4B board to use 4B funds to fund this contract. And the same action will be proposed to the SLDC as well, since they are also going to be proposed to fund a portion of this contract. And then the contract will go to City Council for consideration for approval. So just a quick update of what we discussed on the March 2nd. And if there's any follow-up questions from that, is that, we did our first economic development plan back in 2001. And this really was a framework and a program outline for how the city wanted to tackle economic development with the goal of creating this diversified and robust economy that would enhance the quality of life for our residents. And so just to touch on a couple of those accomplishments was developing an incentive program, establishing our tourism program, as well as a continued expansion of the University of Houston at Sugarland. In 2008, we began that two-phased approach where we first collected data and then updated the economic development plan. That is a similar approach of what we are proposing for this update. Is with this first phase of the workforce analysis and target industry will be a collection of data. And then at the conclusion of that, as well as some of the City Council visioning that is occurring, we will then update our economic development plan. We also have completed the marketing that we did in 2017 to create this uniform brand that we have that you see on your screen of our Sugarland logo. And then last summer, we launched our website with the new branding. And finally, we also have the current contract with DCI where they are engaged as our partner in completing an integrated marketing strategy. And so that portion is underway right now as well. Next slide, please. So I touched on last time is just now is the time. And I think it's still important to reiterate that of, why are we doing this now? It was programmed as a strategic project back last fiscal year in FY20, but COVID happened, as well as sort of our approach. We decided to change our approach of having the two-phased approach of the data collection in order to get the data and be able to use that immediately for our business attraction efforts, but then be able to use that data when the visioning is completed with the City Council to incorporate in so everything is streamlined together. So now is really the time, the pandemic, thankfully, I think we're getting some really good news, and businesses are really coming out of this wait and see mentality and starting to make some decisions and look to the future. And so we feel confident that we have sufficient data to really demonstrate and forecast some of the permanent and temporary impacts of the pandemic, which really, it has just accelerated a lot of the trends that were already happening. But we have a lot of that data available that we can use now. There's not the well, what is this going to do? We know that it's really an acceleration of what was already happening. Next slide, please. Thank you. So to summarize, our phase 1 project goals is to support the development of phase 2, which is updating the city's economic development strategy. It also will immediately be able to support and direct our ongoing and immediate recruitment efforts. And then of course, inform our ongoing and future marketing efforts as we continue with our business recruitment and retention expansion efforts. Next slide, please. So during the workshop earlier this month, I described the RFP process that was undertaken and that EY was the recommended consultant group from that process. And so just as a reminder, this is the team that will be supporting our workforce analysis and targeted industry assessment as part of this project. Next slide, please. We set out 3 objectives for this project. Objective 1 is the workforce analysis. So really looking at how does our labor force stack up to some of our peers and our competitors? What skills do our local employers need? How is Sugar Land positioned for the future to capture some of these industries that we're looking to capture? And one of the exciting things that I think about this workforce analysis, and it's shown on the next slide, is it's not just the talent of the people that are already employed in Sugar Land, but what is the talent of our residents, and are they commuting somewhere else? And how can we retain them here or bring some of their types of industries that they're working in elsewhere in the region into Sugar Land? Object 2 is our targeted industry analysis. So really looking to leverage our competitive advantages to capture that growth in some of those targeted industries that we're looking for. And then do we have the sites to support those targeted industry operations? We will be doing an assessment on some opportunity sites that we have in the city. And then of course, are our incentive policies aligned with the types of targeted industries that we have the talent for, we have the real estate for, and we really should be focused on attracting? And do our policies fall in line with that for those efforts? And then finally, the 3rd objective is benchmarking. We will be looking at this is not for the whole city, this is for our Office of Economic Development, for our economic development corporations, our structure and our resources. Do we have the necessary structure and resources to support what our targeted industry growth we want it to be? Next slide, please. And then here's a breakdown of just kind of in more detail of those different objectives that I mentioned. We'll be doing the benchmark analysis, a primary employer survey, the talent flow analysis that includes the commuter data that I was talking about, some of the clustering analysis for the targeted industries and incentive policy review, and those opportunity sites assessments that I mentioned. Next slide, please. So the overall cost for this contract is $147,085. We are proposing $100,000 from the SLDC and $47,085 from SL4B for those 3 components of the contract that I just discussed. It's a 5-month timeline, so beginning in April and going through August, so just the beginning of September. And just as a reminder that all the engagement of these, the surveys and any stakeholder type interviews will be virtual. So if travel restrictions do start to loosen up and travel is deemed necessary, then we'll sort of reassess it for the contract at that time. But right now it's set up where everything is virtual and no travel. And it's been very successful. With all the consultants that we actually spoke to, a lot of people have said that it really has sort of opened up engagement and allowed more people to participate, which I think we've also seen on all of our boards and commissions that we've done at the city as well. Next slide, please. So next step, I just kind of reviewed what we've already done to date. We've gone to the Economic Development Committee. We've done the RFP process. We had our joint workshop. Today is consideration of the funding resolution. On April 6th will be the consideration of the funding resolution for the SLDC, as well as later that night, the City Council contract consideration. And then the contract would begin if approved. The phase 2 of the updating the economic development plan, that is TBD. Once we complete this contract and make sure that we have the visioning from the city council and other things in line, that we will proceed at that time, which we think will be closely after that. Next slide, please. So finally, the recommendation from staff is to approve resolution number 2021-0304, which would approve funding in the amount of $47,000, or it should be 805,085. I've got those numbers switched there, from the 4B for the FY21 workforce and target industry analysis. And so with that, just any clarifying questions that you all might have for us.
Does anyone have any clarifying questions?
So this is off top. Devin, if they do have to travel, is that included in the contract price, or will that be charged additional as an additional fee?
No, it is not currently included in the contract price, and we don't anticipate needing to, but I just wanted to make sure that we all knew that this is all virtual engagement. It's not any in-person engagement.
Got it.
Yeah, and Devin, if you don't mind me jumping in, just
Sure.
saying hello to everybody. Good to see you again. Great job, Devin, on your overview. I do think the timing for this is a great, it's a great project. You know, as we come out of this recession, out of the pandemic, the world's going to look very different. I see this as a fundamentally asking the question, what are the opportunities out there for us to help Sugar Land attract in industries? And how can the workforce be better leveraged and even developed to grab those opportunities? Regarding the travel, we are based in Austin, Texas. I don't personally live there, but we also have a lot of people in Houston on this project. And so they're going to be traveling to your city and doing a window tour of your sites and real estate as a part of this, the real estate component of our phase 2 analysis.
Yeah, thank you for mentioning that, Chris. I forgot about that component. So there is some of the site selector staff that is based in Houston. So they're 20 minutes away.
I actually have a question, Chris, and it's just more of a general one. One of the items I know in part of the analysis is to determine people that would be leaving Sugar Land to go work. How will you get that information?
Yes, believe it or not, there's some very deep data that the US government produces, specifically the census, where they match. It's fascinating. I don't really understand it. Match where people live versus where they work through some administrative data that the US government has access to. And it's actually very good data. So we can not only know how many people are leaving the city, but what industries they work in and the skills, the occupations they have that when they're leaving the city. There's also some data that we purchase as part of this project that gives us some occupational skill sets of the people that live in your city. So we feel very comfortable that existing data will get the job done extremely well.
And I guess it has to take into consideration that people may have previously left the city, but now more may end up working remotely more permanently. So we have to, that would get factored in, because if they're staying home, they actually might be buying more stuff in Sugar Land than they otherwise would have if they were leaving the city.
Very true.
Okay. Any other questions? Do I have a motion to vote on this one?
Motion to approve.
Second.
All right, Dr. Gasani, motion to approve, and Director Atkinson, second. Director Saunders?
Aye.
Director Porter?
Aye.
Director Kamali?
Aye.
Director McCutcheon?
Aye.
Director Atkinson?
Aye.
Director Gasani?
Aye.
And I as well. The motion carries. All approved. Motion carried unanimously. Thank you.
Thank you
Thanks,
all
Deb.
very much.
And thanks, Chris.
Thank you. I look forward to working with you.
Thank you. The next item is our director's report. Elizabeth Huff presenting.
I don't have anything else to add other than the covering of the 2 projects that we talked about earlier. We've got a lot of really exciting work going on, and we'll be seeing you soon.
Oh, that sounds great. All right. Do I have a motion to end the meeting?
Motion.
Motion. We're closing the meeting, 5:05 p.m. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank
Bye.
you. Good to see you
Bye.
all.
Yeah, good day.
Bye.
Thanks a lot.